welcome back to the channel. You are on Meet the Band, a live Zoom call on our #1 show on the Rogers Network, Channel 10, if you don't know. I'm here with Scott's Corner, Scott Templeton from Blackrose Entertainment, with him and his wife do the dooley deeds of setting up all the entertainment all over Ontario. We'll get into that. We're going to start with a recording artist, a musical director, and somebody that's tackled a real big project. Lance Anderson, to my bottom left. Good afternoon, good evening, somewhere in the world, sir. And we're going to kick it right off the bat. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's tell us when you started this project and how it all came about.
Well, you know, it wasn't my idea. It was the musical director for the Kitchener Blues Festival. And he asked me one time, could I do something special for a Friday night? And he said, I'd like to employ a lot of people. And, you know, you have 2 hours on a Friday night at the festival. So I thought of doing the band's Last Waltz, because you have the music of the band, you have a big horn section, and then you have all these guests. Because, you know, it's the music of Bob Dylan was there, Neil Young was there, Van Morrison was there, and so on. So we did that, and we did that in 2010.
Oh.
And it was supposed to be a one-off, you know. So we did it. We really enjoyed doing it. And the audience just loved it. And everybody, all the musicians afterwards said, hey, why don't we do this again?
Yeah.
And so we just decided to do it again. And it's been that way for 16 years. We just keep doing it again, you know.
What was setting up the project, was that I'm getting the feeling that was a fluke when you mentioned one-off.
Yeah.
And then you did the one show, and obviously it was good. You're still going, selling out and touring all over the place. Can you talk to us about, you know, how the project got assembled?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I've been a record producer in Toronto for years, so I have a long list of people to call. But, you know, every project has people that are sort of better for this project than others. I had everybody but the drummer, and I could have done it with the drummer who didn't sing and just had a singer do the Levon Helm stuff. But I remembered this kid in Peterborough who sang like Levon and played the drums. I didn't know his name or anything. I got in touch with another friend of mine in Peterborough. I said, do you know this guy who I was at this concert and he sang Ophelia by the band and played the drums? He said, oh, yeah, that's Jerome Avis. So that's all I knew about him. I called Jerome, explained the situation. We have this one-off. Would you like to come? And he said, sure. He showed up to the first rehearsal, and his dad came along, and his dad had a band tour jacket on. Not something you could buy, but this was from the band. It was a tour jacket. So I said, oh, I noticed that. I said, how'd you get that jacket? Because I know that's an official tour jacket. He said, oh, didn't you know I was the band's manager? And I started working with Ronnie Hawkins when I was 17. And that guy, he pointed to his son, he said, he's Levon Helm's godson.
Wow.
Now, I had no idea when I hired him. I just knew he sounded like Levon.
So that obviously made it a plan to continue where you are 16 years later. I mean, tell us about the assembly of the bandmates. You just mentioned Helm's godson, but was it an audition, or you just knew so many people?
No, I knew he could do.
Industry guy yourself.
Yes, nobody had to audition for it. I could just choose them, and I chose the people I knew. That they really loved the band's music. I wanted some people who, because it was going to be a lot of work for a one-off concert.
Yeah.
So I knew I could just ask the people who were really going to get a kick out of doing this, you know. And then, of course, Jerome, he was the only drummer that could sing in that style that I knew of. So he came in. And everybody else, you know, the horns I got, and the guests, I just, you know, got people I thought could sing. It's not a tribute show in that nobody does an impersonation of any of these people. Yes. But we do sing in that style of, you know. And what it's become, actually, with doing all these theater shows, it's become more of a theatrical presentation, because not only do we do the songs of the band and their guests, but Jerome gets to tell, and his dad comes out and tells personal stories about these guys that nobody else would know about. And Jerome was very emotional. He was very close to Levon, and he does a little tribute in the show, and he always chokes up talking about his godfather, you know?
So rolling into the project,
yeah.
Accurate, you being a musical director, how accurate is it to the album, the live album and the movie? Is it a direct takeoff or is it your own group's flair? Tell us about that.
Well, that's the interesting thing as well. Like, you know, there are people who do note for note representation of stuff, and maybe if you're doing Queen or something, that makes some sort of sense. When you're doing the band, like the band never played the same thing twice.
Right.
Not in concert, not even if you hear a different take of the same studio, like the next take, entirely different. So it didn't really make sense to do it note for note. We did it in the same spirit. So every night we try to bring something else to it, almost like what the Grateful Dead did. We played in the style of. I don't play every note that Richard Manuel played on the piano. I have some favorite things that Richard did that I will throw in just for my own gratification, my own fun, you know. But I don't go out of my way to try to copy that. We just play it in that style. And I even say to the guest singers, I say, you know, I'm not asking you to impersonate Neil Young. If we had Rick Fiennes come out once and he sang it down an octave and sang the whole tune. Jimmy Bolesville has sung Helpless and done it in almost a gospel style, you know, just beautiful. So that's it. We just make music as the band would have done. Like they just made music, you know.
What can we tell the viewers and the listeners? They come to the show, wherever it is, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
What can they expect? Give us the rundown there, please.
Well, we try to do as many of the songs from the Last Waltz as possible, but the band was on for 3 hours. And the concert itself went on for 7 hours.
Wow.
So we obviously can't do everything that they did that night. What we do try to do is every concert we add one different tune in that either from the concert itself, and we've sort of gone through all the songs that were done at the concert, or we just even add something that from the first album that we liked, you know. But just to keep it fresh for us, but also fresh for our audience. We have people who've seen this show 16 times.
Wow.
So, I mean, and they keep on saying it's different each time because we'll have different guests. We'll play different tunes. And of course, we play them differently. And we've had 30 different special guests since 2010.
Wow. So after 16 years, can you tell us intimately what have been your biggest challenges?
Well, I kind of laugh when some people say we're going to put together a Last Waltz tribute because it took us the better part of 10 years to be able to play it properly, to play it well, because all of those guys were very gifted players in their own right. Nobody plays the drums like Levon Helm. Certainly nobody on the planet, and probably never will, plays the organ like Garth Hudson. You know, nobody sings like Rick Danko, and nobody plays the bass like Rick Danko. I mean, they're all very, you know, very distinct artists. So, yeah, it was, you know, that was a challenge, and what they're playing, it's not easy music at all. You know, it's very hard to pull off, and it's taken us really, I'd say, 10 years where I could say we are now doing it as well as anybody in the world is playing the band music. And remember, 4 of the members were Canadian.
Right. Now,
this is an all-Canadian show.
I want to talk a little bit about, you touched on it briefly, I'd like you to expand about the assembly of the band, being a musical director yourself, and I'm quite sure pick of who you wanted, the good, bad, and ugly, and tribulation. Tell us a little bit more about where and why you made your choices. I don't mean on everybody, but process.
Well, for one thing, I knew a bass player who'd played with the Hawks, Dennis Pinhorn. He no longer plays with us. He's sort of retired. But I asked Dennis to play because he had played with Ronnie Hawkins. So that was a connection. I asked our guitarist Terry Blursch to play because I knew he was a real band fan and loved Robbie Robertson. And in fact, all the telly players like Dominic Turano from Toronto from the 60s, he was a real aficionado of that kind of stuff. So there I had two guys that I already knew would fit. I had Jerome. So then it was a matter of getting an organist. I had a few to choose from, but Rob Gusevs had played with Dominic Turano, played with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the guy, and he's now still playing with us. And he has a very special touch, you know. So that was the core band. The horns, you know, we've gone through a lot of different horns, but for instance, I wanted a trombone player who could also play tuba, who could double on tuba. I needed a saxophone player who could also play flute and soprano sax, because that's called for in the band. So that whittles it down a bit. But again, through the 16 years, we probably used 20 different horn players, you know. But we use the same core band, the same 5 people, because we have to sing the songs, and we replaced the bass player now as Wayne DeAtter, who's just a fantastic bass player who's dead into Rick Danko's playing, loves it. And in fact, Wayne is actually could do either the guitar chair or the bass chair, because he's really a guitar player who's playing bass. But he just loves that style, and that's all I really ask of people. You know, just I don't want, this isn't like, this is even our main living. We don't do enough gigs for that. This is really a labor of love, and we just, I can only book it when sort of enough people are available, right? Because, and a lot of times it's in the off season, like late October, November, because, you know, it's not during festival season. But this year we're doing the Kitchener Blues Festival, where it all started, because this is the 50th anniversary of the Last Waltz. So we thought we'd bring it back. They asked us to bring it back to Kitchener. We're also doing the Wasaga Beach Blues Festival in September. So there are different festivals, and we're doing, you know, theaters all the way to Southern Ontario. We're doing Sarnia, we're doing Chatham, we're doing London, Ontario, Port Dover, Ontario, Ancaster, Gravenhurst, Huntsville, yeah, all over, you know.
Tell us about your relationship with Blackrose Entertainment. With White Chris. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, Scott's been a real help in getting, because he has the contacts and the organizational ability to help with these bookings, you know, and he does more than half of the bookings, and some I do myself, but he's been great. He's been great to work with, and he sets up these things. He works hard at getting people out, you know, and although we've been, the word of mouth has gotten around, you know, that when we announce a show in an area, like we're playing Bancroft for the first time in, I think it's November, it's the first show sold out in May.
Wow.
You know, so we added a second show in the afternoon. We're going to do 2 shows, and the second one is selling out. So in a lot of ways, we don't have to do a lot as long as people have heard about it. When we go into a new area like Perry Sound, for instance, we've never played in Perry Sound.
Yes.
So there isn't that word of mouth there already, you know, so that's why we hope to get, you know, go in. We know that the show goes over well every time we play it, you know. It's so nice to have a show that, you know,
so
really
interesting.
And it really means a lot to people, you know, because
listen, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How tough is the music industry today?
Well, I'm sort of at the end of my career, so it's not as tough for me, you know, because I have this whole history of stuff and doing different things. And I write for films, and I just sent 3 orchestral pieces over to England to be played by the Welsh Symphony Orchestra next weekend. So I've got a lot of things on the go. But for young players, people in their late 20s, 30s, especially, that have young families, it's a tough go. It's a real tough go. You know, and it has, of course, you know, streaming has just decimated our incomes because we're not getting paid properly for the dissemination of our music.
Leads me to the question. You started to walk into it there.
Yeah.
What would we call them young bloods? So the ones coming up, the ones that want to be you and perform on projects like you're doing, what would your tip of the day be?
You know, I'd say to them, don't wait around for people to call you for a job. You know, be proactive, make your own jobs. You don't have to wait for some bar to call you. You can go book any theater in Ontario if you want. Get a bunch of like acts, like you put 3 acts together and you go book a theater and you do it yourself. But you've got to have a product. You've got to have a really good product. And if you do, the audience will come. It takes a while to build an audience. Now, that said, music has changed all through history. Like in the 40s, there were these big dance halls that had big bands. Come the 50s, the bebop came with smaller jazz bands, and the big bands died, and so the dance halls died. So you didn't have that venue anymore. Then you had clubs, smaller clubs. Now the clubs are sort of dying off. There isn't the money in the clubs, but there is money in theaters and festivals. So then you have to develop your act to work in theaters and festivals.
Gotcha. Final question, and thanks for hanging in.
Yeah.
Plus your social media IDs for those people that want to get in touch with you or continue the conversation.
My social, it's something like Make It Real LA2 or something. I'd have to sort of send it to you. I don't know it off by heart, but they could, if they just Google Lance Anderson Orillia, Ontario, they will come up with me. My contact.
Well, listen, thanks a million for taking the time.
Well, thank you.
Of it, and anxious to talk again somewhere down the road. Folks, you're listening to Meet the Band. I'm the BMD, your host. And we've been with and blessed to be with on Information Highway, Lance Anderson. Stay well, my friend. Continuing touring. We'll see you on the backdrop. Hey, folks, the BMD here on my show, Meet the Band. If you or your group would like to be a guest on the show, email us at thebmdpodcast@gmail.com. See you then. Hey, everybody. We are on one of my favorite things to do on the show. You're listening to Meet the Band on Rogers Television Network. And we have, of course, the host of Scott's Corner, Scott Templeton, him and his wife, Chris. I always say Chris. They're running the dynasty empire of the entertainment, all of Ontario, growing on leaps and bounds, and he's been kind enough always to come on the segment of Scott's Corner. Hey, how you doing, my friend? And listen, what a shirt! Get up on that shirt. Whoa! Howdy doody for sure. Listen, I want to get right into it. Time is, we went a little override there with Lance. Listen, I'm hearing through the grapevine that there may be some politics stepping up. Do you want to make an announcement, or am I pushing you too much?
No, it's fine. I put my name forward. You know me, I'm a community guy, and I love my town of Whitby, and I put my name forward to run for Center Ward Councillor, local Center Ward Councillor. That election's coming in October 26th. So if you're in Center Ward and you want to support a really good, trusty person, that would be me. October 26th, vote for Scott Templeton.
So have you started the campaign's underway, or you have to wait?
No, the campaign's on its way, but I did a mail out first, just an intro, so people know who I am, but most of them do know who I am anyways, but I just put it out there. They got a flyer delivered to their home. I'm just, like I said, I'm still recovering from a foot surgery that we had, and, and surgery my wife had. So we're on the mend, but we're almost there. We're almost 100% ready to go. I got a couple more weeks to go of wearing a boot so I don't damage my toes anymore. And other than that, come August, I'll be out knocking at everybody's door. They're going to be seeing the smiley face of maybe some of my shirts.
You're always smiling. That's a good start. Listen, can you tell us how this came about quickly?
I've been involved in the world of politics for, since I was in high school, and I ran for, a spot on the student council and president. even in college, I was on the committee, all the way through. So I think it's in my blood to run. Nobody else is running the family, but I've been running all over the place. I was a school board trustee for 4 years, so from 2018 to 2022. So you know what? It's time to go to council and use what knowledge I've gained over all those years to move our town forward.
But folks, we may be talking to the future mayor tonight. Who knows? Listen, let's get right at it. I wanted to start a new segment on the show geared to you, and it's called How Did It Go, Scott?
Oh, we want to go through that.
The pretext is I want to know what your feeling was on the latest shows out of Blackrose Entertainment and how they finished up. And what do you say? What do you know about that?
I tell you what, we had a very busy weekend this past weekend. We had 4 shows. One in Midland. It was a Simon and Garfunkel tribute with the musical director that used to take care of the John. Oh my God, I forgot his name now. John McLean and the Vinyl Cafe.
Okay.
He was the musical director for that. John Sheard. He put together a band. Simon and Garfunkel. We haven't stopped hearing people sending us emails saying how great it was. It was an amazing show. It was in Midland. One was in Midland. We had another one here in Oshawa. Obviously, with us on the mend, we couldn't get to Midland, but we went to Oshawa, and it was one of the better shows I've seen this year. These guys are spot on. The audience loved it. They went away happy, and they asked when they're coming back. So that's a good start. We had Chicago Transit at the Regent Theater. That show, these guys were right spot on. I'm not sure if you know Dan Clancy, but Dan Clancy is the lead singer for Lighthouse. He also is one of the singers for Chicago Transit. Chicago Transit is the longest running tribute to Chicago in the world. They've been together for almost 32 years. And I'm happy to say we have them coming in Midland, and they'll be going to Meaford as well, and coming back to the Regent Theater. And again, there was a ton of folks come up. I believe one of your friends came up and mentioned how much he loved the show. And the last show was a brand new show we brought on to the Regent Theater. It was actually an ABBA Bee Gees tribute, not the ABBA Mania Bee Gees, but it was an ABBA Bee Gees. They just did the music of ABBA and Bee Gees. So it wasn't all the glamour outfits and everything. It was just the music of ABBA and the Bee Gees. The crowd left quite satisfied, and it was I think it's a great start to a great relationship for that show.
This is a great start to the new clip. You just nailed that, buddy, along with having the best shirt I've ever seen. Listen, tell us about what's coming up now on Blackrose Entertainment. Who kind of a teaser, maybe, or who you're working with, or what you've booked.
Well, I'll move along with who we just had on interviewing, Lance Anderson. And the show that he is actually, it's called The Last Waltz. It's a musical celebration of the band live. There is 13 members in that band, and it is a phenomenal experience. You have to go see it. We have them in Parry Sound at the Soki Center. We have them in Ottawa. We have them in Cornwall. I have them booked, ready to go at Belleville. It's going to be, if you get a chance to see this band, you have to go out and see it. You would be blown away. Like he said in the interview, people have seen the show 16 times because it's different every time, but it's still the main core of the band. And that's what brings people back. We have August. We have Elvis coming in. Steve Michaels, my favorite, your favorite, at the Regent Theater. He's doing the 68th special and Aloha.
Beautiful.
And then coming in September, we have an artist. His name is Paul Anthony. Paul Anthony does a cash tribute. And the name of the show is I'm not Johnny Cash. Nobody can be Johnny Cash. No one can pretend to be Johnny Cash, but they can sing the songs of Johnny Cash, and you'll hear Johnny Cash in the songs. And he tells a little story about everything. It's a really, really good show. That's September 12th and September 18th. We have a returning guest. It's George Thorogood tribute. It's called Bad to the Bone. And sharing the stage with them in the first half will be Bootleg Credence. They do all CCR. So that is what's coming up for September in the short term. After September, you check out blackroseentertainment.ca, check out Blackrose Entertainment Canada, and you'll find out all about all our shows coming up right across Ontario.
Wow, this has been a fabulous segment. I'm saying, I don't know if the recovery on your foot, they're giving you some new updated meds there, but you are flying, buddy.
Well, trying to make everybody smile. That's what I do.
Listen, thanks for taking the time. Excuse me, anything else you want to mention?
Off the top of my head, other than, you know what, come October, get out and vote. Remember my name, Scott Templeton, local Center Ward Town Councillor, Ward 3.
Well, you heard it from the boss.
That's
He's really trying to be the big boss and maybe taking over Whitby. I'm the BMD. You've been listening to Meet the Band and our show segment, Scott's Corner. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe. If you're happy, tell a friend. See you next time.